It is a pleasure to be able to introduce this first session, learning from the wisdom of the Mapuche culture. My name is Claudia Hammerschmidt. I am a professor at the University of Vienna. I am the director of a great network on Patagonia and of the regional center Maria Sebelian Calasco no Sur on subalternized identities. In these contexts, I had the luck of getting to know the Mapuche culture through different representatives, some of the most important representatives. Mapuche means people from the land and the earth. And as the name indicates it, the Mapuche people always try to live in harmony with the Asmapu, or the order of the earth, honoring the nature as well as all the beings of the Mapu, the earth, the land, all of the human beings, alive or dead, and all of the flora and fauna, and all of the insects, as well as the biggest mountain. The Mapuche way of life and their concept of well-being and living is based on the respect of everything that lives and exists. Any violence against the earth is a disorder of the natural balance, and it threatens it in depth. The Mapuche vision entails a holistic approach to life and the world as a great whole, interconnected, and it believes that any infringement against the ecosystem will impact all of us and will be a hazard, a danger for all existing beings. Thus, the vision of sustainability and the care of natural resources has always been something that corresponds to the way of being and acting in the Mapuche world. But Valmapu, the territory, the Mapuche territory in the south in America, which is the earth alive and the flowering, blossoming earth, since the genocide and colonization that have been executed by Argentinian and Chilean armies in the 19th century, is now commoditized and sold. And against this extractivism, and in order to recover their way of life that is balanced and sustainable, the Mapuche people are fighting politically and culturally since the end of the last century. One of the references of this recovery, cultural recovery, is the singer and ethnomusical musician Anahi Mariluan. She is an internationally recognized artist who has been awarded with many prizes, with video clips and albums that have been published in Mapuche language, who has directed and co-directed 3 movies and was in charge of the music of 3 different long features, is fighting for the restoration of the Valmapu voices from beauty and love. And she is integrating traditional instruments of her people which were destroyed, sold, and made invisible by the national state, together with a whole group of recognized wise women and men, historians, philosophers, Mapuche activists. The singer is making resound and rebirth the Mapusungun, the Mapuche language that was forbidden and stigmatized until it was almost silenced and disappeared. And she does it with contemporary aesthetics and gives voice to the knowledge and the wisdom of the old Mapuche women, the language of the birds, of the wind, of the water and the mountain, in its great diversity that is now being threatened by the mega extractivism actions. So let's now listen to Anahi Mariluan, who will introduce her holistic art, integrating the word of many other poets and intellectuals and Mapuche activists on her fight for the recovery of memory, earth, and language for sustainability and dignity of life, and on her activism and resistance and artistic resistance for a better future through beauty. Thank you very much. Anahi, the floor is yours.
Mari. Greetings from the city of Bariloche. My name is Anahi Mariluan. I am a musician of the Mapuche people, and I am very happy with this participation. We have prepared a musical and art exhibition showing the thoughts and words of the Mapuche people, in which I am proud to present my lamien, my sisters and brothers, references of the Mapuche people who from their experience contribute to explain the world in which we inhabit. The Mapuche people have existed for at least 9,000 years, a period in which their way of life has not left any traces of colonization, but rather has taken care of nature. And today, or even through a genocide, the struggle has taken up the demand for the right of return and confronts mega-extractivist enterprises that dispute our land in other ways. We think at both sides of the Andes mountain range that our task is to follow in the footsteps of dignity, of the struggle for life, in and from the territories that we all inhabit today. In this procession, we reflect collectively and interculturally from the territories in conflict with the tool of art. The answers to a better life are given in this work that we use to show the world that we are defending ourselves and that we are restoring from the mother tongue in which we sing, we tell stories, we tell poetries and history with a sense of identity that is that which belongs to the people of the land. Many of our works aspire to show us collectively, because that is where we learn to update memories. We try to put forward the same thought. That is why in this compilation we will see both poets as well as activists of the world and political activism of the Mapuche people. We have the poets Viviana, Vanessa Gallardo Ancalao, the poet Jorge Spindola, writer Adrián Moyano, all of them members of the intercultural collective Tukulpan. This collective brings us together from different cities in what we understand as the Mapuche territory, which today is the Argentinian Patagonia. We also have the words of Sanmartiniano Painefil, who's a political referent with an immense trajectory in political conduct, to accompany autonomous projects, and fragments of poetry by Liliana and Ancalao that help us contextualize the word. Let's now look at the video.
Tain furake cheyen somo như canto nhei tain furake cheyen somo như canto
Greetings. I am here introducing some reflections from the perspective of the art of the Mapuche people and their resistance that allows us to build the possible words and the Mapu where they're still alive. Worlds end and languages end, as well as nature, and we are threatening their territories. But we have memories that collaborate in their defense. We have language, we have words, we have song. Greetings, my name is Viviana Ayilef. I'm a poet. I live in the Mapu. The topics that occupy our poetry are not unrelated from the things that make us be. For us, the struggle is one and the same as the Argentinian people say, and this struggle is a struggle for tenderness, as the poet Elicura Chihuahua said. Greetings, Compuche. My name is Vanessa G. Yancaneo. I am a Mapuche poet. I am from Bariloche. Well, my name is Vanessa G. Gallardo. I live in Bariloche. I believe that the work of Volcantufe, dedicated to music, poetry, and other arts, is actually very valuable in terms of recovering memories. Especially, I think of what has been happening in these last few years with regards to thinking and looking back to what our elders, our elderly women have to share with the generations that follow. The elderly women who are still alive, as well as the memories of women who have let their testimonies in sound archives. That is also very valuable for us because it allows us to go back to, could say, those memory capsules. We can remember again our knowledge in Mapugun. It is memory that is still alive, that is still present, and that often that memory is reactivated when we listen to Mapuzungun. For instance, when we listen on the radio. I mean, when someone on the radio listens to a song or a poem in Mapungun, when they listen to someone speaking the language, we know that this reactivates certain stories, certain wisdom, and it will all go back, things that had been silenced by the Spanish language. The Mapuche women who work with words, we do not work alone. We're always very attentive to both the history as well as the present. We are attentive to everything that exists and to the timeliness of urgencies as well. We come together with what we say, with the different forms of our people, which each communicate in their own way the same message, always in favor of life. I mean, there is no such thing as a hierarchy or anything such as that between the subtlety of the condor flying in the skies or the behavior of a watercourse and our voice, our very small voice, always accompanying the processes of our people. Or rather, people are just one more thing in this enormous territory, and so is poetry. I think that it is very valuable to consider the work that is carried out from art, because it lives in our bodies. We are inhabited by the memory of horror, the memory of pain, the memory of orphanhood, and art somehow allows us to recover those links, those bonds that the genocide cut, and And somehow that allows us to heal. It allows us to reconstruct that fabric that was cut. We can retie threads and we can strengthen ourselves as people. And also to think that that bond is completely tied to a present. To a present that shows that our people still wants to care for the spaces where we live in. We still insist in caring for life and the song of the earth. And that is also why there are so many women who in different territories are caring for the land and for the territory. And they're defending our future somehow. I mean, if you pollute the land, if you pollute the water, life somehow is being endangered. The future of life is in danger. So that the footprint left by the Mapuche people, that has been left by the Mapuche people, I mean, actually that the greatest way of showing that the Mapuche people respect life can be seen in the minimum impact that we have had in territorial spaces. As I was saying, I live in Bariloche, and the Mapuche people pre-existed the Argentinian state. And the mark that we have left on this territory before the colonization was minimal, because the territorial spaces were very well cared for, we could say. When with the advance of colonialism, of state colonialism, the impact on the territories is tremendous. There is so much damage, so much aggression. So I believe that there is a way of existing among the Mapuche people and of inhabiting the territories that shows a very valuable respect, because somehow it guarantees life for the future. So I think that is very important. For the Mapuche people, the enemy is the same. The enemy are all the not material human forms and all of the discursive forms that generate hate and benefit capitalism. We are at odds, and we consider that our enemies are those who extract and disrupt life in their different manifestations. And that is why our poetry is interested in confronting extractivism and confronting all of those things that damage our bodies, our subtle bodies, the memory that inhabits our bodies, the ancestors of which are present. I mean, our bodies are the testimony of those ancestors. And well, our bodies in the here and now, in this present of so much hostility, well, the kind of tenderness that we exercise through poetry exceeds the violence of states and their daily racism as well. And that's why I like to say that poetry puts its finger on the sore point of history. And I also say that poetry is our right to reply, right? For us, the headscarf that the mothers of Plaza de Mayo wear and the muñolonco of our women, they must generate a counter narrative. And this way, we have been working for the same movement, a movement that harmonizes memory and truth and justice, and that favors reparation as well. I believe that we can also, by using poetry, we can brush history against the grain, kind of. And we could even braid its hair, the history's hair. And I believe that that's what our songs do as well. We defend territories, we have evidence of what is, was, and will be. That is why we ask for respect for our way of being and our way of behaving in this world, where our conceptions emphasize a better way of life. I knew how to go to my own house. I knew how to go, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 meters away. There was a big cliff, a huge ravine, and there were big barbas, and it had this noise. I was working in my vegetable garden, and suddenly I heard this sound. And when you looked at it, they were flying low. The condors were flying really, really low. It was so beautiful, such a beautiful thing, really. Because generally condors are usually flying high. But they were going to the southern line, and here they had a place where they slept. Just here. And they would flutter around, and at night when they came, I would see them there. Greetings. Mari Mari. Well, I am Sanmartiniano. If we look at history, we realize that we had an immense territory, our people had an immense territory, both what is currently Argentina as what today is Chile. At that time, well, the border did not exist, and we were just one people. What happened? Well, practically most of the Mapuche live in the cities because they were running out of territory because of the great dispossession that took place. I mean, due to the government actions at the time, they had a policy that generated genocide, and they made the majority of the Lonques and disappeared, and the Machis disappeared as well. And the great healers disappeared. They were the great healers. And all of these things that happened had only one objective, which was to take our territory. The notion of North and the idea of North for us is the East. That's where the sun comes from. That's where life comes from. That is where the forces come from. The transits from West to East and from East to West are ancestral. In fact, there are the mountain passes. There are the ancient contacts. There are the practices, the Nepakulpukafe. We have the initiation practices. We have the Puel journeys, we have the exchanges. And scholars of the Mapuche world say that we have an interrupted historicity, historically due to the ancient conquest, and then by the perpetuation of the conquest by the Argentine and Chilean states that turned the mountain range into a border. They split Gualmapu in two, and they divorced the relationship between the Puelmapu and the Golumapu, between the Boluche people and the Puelchu people. And we all know that borders are actually a place of impulse, a bridging place of transit where journeys, energies, visions are projected. And the border crossings show that, the old crossings show it. Because most of us Mapuches, we have real testimonies and things that we have lived either through our parents or our grandparents that have told us so, why they were persecuted so, and we came back and then we were persecuted again, and that is really very sad. But we also know that our people were dignified. Our people didn't even want to teach our own language because they were afraid that the same thing would happen to us, things that happened to them, and they had reason enough to deny us our own language. And that's why many of us lost our language. Well, today, fortunately, we're recovering it, but it's being a big effort. I mean, it's really difficult. And I think that there are plenty of reasons to keep on demanding, to keep on fighting, to keep on battling. We are organizing ourselves because we have a very important experience with the organization that was created at the time, or with the Indigenous Council. But nowadays, we still have communities in the space in which I participate. In our space, we are still making those demands to the society, to the government, to the culture that they imposed on us. We tell them that we are still there, that we live in cities, it's true, but we're still there, and we're still fighting for those principles, just as our ancestors did. We are always going to fight. We are always going to be in the struggle. We are always going to be trying to share those same principles with everyone else.
Tren, 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 caballero, comer. Kai, 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 caballero, comer. Tren, 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 caballero, comer. Kai, 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 caballero, comer. Goye meiti, tren, tren. Goye meiti, tren, tren. Mapuche meiti, kai, 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 kai.
In ancient descriptions that can be read in the very first Spanish chronicles of when the invaders arrived in the Mapuche territory, we see descriptions of the attire, of the clothing of the warriors who went on to receive those expeditions, and the conquerors, the conquistadors, were marveled with the exuberance of those clothing. The old Mapuches would fight dressed with puma heads, with fox's tails, with the skin of sea lions and other details. And that presence is interpreted as fighting with an ally, one of the Newen, these allies of the warrior. There is an ancient Mapuche concept called cuña or kunga that refers to the ancient names. They were synthesized, that there were 12, and in those names, there are references actually to beings of nature. For instance, the manque, which is the condor, or the ñanco, which is an eaglet, or the luan. And this concept of cuña has nothing to do with your family lineage or with the Tugun or the territory of origin, but rather with that being that was and is your ally, the ally of a certain person in the Asmapu, which is the Mapuche way of understanding the universe. That is the Huichal conception, the ally. Since the end of the 80s and beginning of the 90s, in the 20th century, we have witnessed an evidence revitalization of the autonomous Mapuche movement. I mean, it's not that after the Desert Campaign or the Araucanía occupation, the Mapuche people stopped engaging in politics, but it was during that period when they recovered autonomy, when they recovered their own project, independently from the political parties and the trade unions and even guerrilla organizations. It's then that the autonomous Mapuche mobilization began, and obviously it was accelerated or deepened when the extractivist stage of capitalism was unleashed, because territories that were initially discarded by the advance of states and the advance of the first large landowners, the first ones to really benefit directly from the usurpation of the Mapuche territory, when certain natural resources were exhausted, capitalism saw with its new greedy eyes the territories that they had previously discarded. And there in the last rocky areas of the mountains, we find the Mapuche communities. We found around the snow-capped mountains, the Mapuche communities. There they are in the most inner part of the Patagonian steppe. There we had the Mapuche communities that were renewing their resistance in contact with these millenary allies. For the Mapuche people, a mountain is not just an inert thing, it is a being that is full of life. A lake is a being that has multiple lives. A beach or a ravine, the streams, the rivers, they all have life, and they are not susceptible to being killed by dams. That alliance, that way of understanding the rest of life, the Trimoniem, is the one that sustains the Mapuche people's centuries-old resistance. And with that perspective, with those allies, with each mountain range, with each river, with each island, with each lake, the Mapuche people are invincible. The musical videos that we have seen are actually part of the creation that took place with Maria Manzanares, the creator who has been doing different audiovisual projects for people. The art that I contribute with gives voice and visibilizes that which is intangible and to empower so that we can break the silence. So I wanted to thank you all for the possibility that you have given us to visibilize our situation, thanks to the Jena Declaration, together with Claudia Hammerschmidt, Dr. Claudia Hammerschmidt, who is actually promoting the fight to end with the silence of the Mapuche people. And with this gesture, you are showing us the way of dignity, which is the emblem of the fight of our people, dignity. Thank you so much, Anahi. And we will now give the floor to Beno.